Today, we discuss about artistic and creative literacy. Artistic literacy is the knowledge and understanding required to participate authentically in the arts. While individuals can learn about dance, media, music, theater, and visual arts through reading print text, artistic literacy requires that they engage in artistic creation processes directly through the use of materials. Form and content cannot be separated. Form or design visual organization of the artwork, how artist has used line, shape, value, color, etc. Content is the impact or meaning of this work. So, in education, it is how something is taught, how curricula are organized, and how schools are designed impact upon what students will learn. Everything interacts. There is no content without form and no form without content. Meaning, when the content of a form is changed, the form will also change. Nuance matters. To the extent to which teaching is an art, attention to nuance is critical. It can also be said that aesthetic lives in the details that the maker can shape in the course of creation. So it is how a word is spoken, how a gesture is made, how a line is written, and how a melody is played. All affect the character of the whole. It all depends upon the modulation of the nuances that constitute the act. So, it is the ability to express or understand delicate shading as of meaning, feeling, or value. If you are an artistic literate, you can understand the fine point details of an art or a shape about what makes it great. Surprise is not to be seen as an intruder in the process of inquiry, but as a part of the rewards one reaps when working artistically. No surprise, no discovery, no progress. So educators should not resist surprise, but create the condition to make it happen. It is one of the most powerful sources to intrinsic satisfaction. Slowing down perception is the most promising way to see what is actually there. It is true that we have a certain words to designate high levels of intelligence. We describe somebody as being swift, or bright, or sharp, or fast on the pickup. Speed in its swift state is a descriptor for those who we call smart. Yet, one of the qualities we ought to be promoting in our schools is slowing down perception. The ability to take one's time, to smell the flowers, to really perceive in the Deweyan sense, and not merely to recognize what one looks at. The limits of language are not the limits of cognition. We know more than we can tell. In common terms, literacy refers essentially to the ability to read and to write. But literacy can be reconceptualized as the common creation and use of a form of representation that will enable one to create meaning. Meaning that will not take the impress of language in its conventional form. In addition, literacy is associated with high-level forms of cognition. We tend to think that in order to know, one has to be able to say. However, as Polanyi 1969 reminds us, we know more than we can tell. Somatic experience is one of the most important indicators that someone has gotten it right, related to the multiple ways in which we represent the world through our multiple forms of literacy is the way in which we come to know the world through the entailments of our body. Sometimes, one knows a process or an event through one's skin. Open-ended tasks permit the exercise of imagination, and an exercise of the imagination is one of the most important of human aptitudes. It is imagination, not necessity, that is the mother of invention. Imagination is the source of new possibilities. In the arts, imagination is a primary virtue. So, it should be in the teaching of mathematics, in all of the sciences, in history, and indeed in virtually all the humans create. This achievement would require for its realization a culture of schooling in which the imaginative aspects of the human condition were made possible. Characterizing artistically literate individuals. How would you characterize an artistically literate student? Literature on art education and art standards in education cited the following as common traits of artistically literate individuals. When an individuals use a variety of artistic media, symbols, and metaphors to communicate their own ideas and respond to the artistic communication of others, is artistically literate. When an individuals develop creative personal realization in at least one art form in which they continue active involvement as an adult, he or she is an artistically literate. And when an individuals cultivate culture, history, and other connections through diverse forms and genres of artwork, is an artistically literate person. When an individuals find joy, inspiration, peace, intellectual stimulation, and meaning when they participate in the arts, is an artistically literate person. Lastly, when a person seeks artistic experiences and support the arts in their communities, are called artistically literate person. The four essential components to developing or designing curriculum that cultivates students' artistic and creative literacy. Imagination and pretense, fantasy, and metaphor. A creative curriculum will not simply allow, but will actively support play and playfulness. The teacher will plan for learning and teaching opportunities for children to be, at once, who they are and who they are not, transforming reality, building narratives, and mastering and manipulating signs and symbol system. Active menu to meaning making. In a classroom where children can choose to draw, write, paint, or play in the way that suits their purpose and or mood, literacy learning and arts learning will inform and support each other. Intentional holistic teaching. A creative curriculum requires a creative teacher who understands the creative processes and purposefully supports learners in their experiences. Intentional teaching does not mean drill and rote learning, and indeed, endless rote learning exercises might indicate the very opposite of intentional teaching. What makes for intentional teaching is truthfulness and purpose, and this could occur in such activities as reading a story, adding a prop, drawing children's attention to a spider's web, and playing with rhythm and rhyme. Even the thoughtful and intentional imposing of constraints can lead to creativity. Co-player, co-artist. Educators must be reminded of the importance of understanding children as current citizens with capacities and capabilities in the here and now. It is vital for teachers to know and appreciate children and what they are know by being mindful of the present and making time for conversation, interacting with the children as they draw. Teachers must try to avoid letting the busy management work of their days take precedence and distract them from the being.